My name is Daniel. On my 55th birthday, I honestly believed I had finally earned my place in the family. It wasn't because anyone had ever said it out loud, no one did. It was because after nearly 18 years of marriage, I had convinced myself that loyalty eventually mattered more than blood. I thought that if I kept showing up, kept sacrificing, kept carrying everyone else's burdens without complaint, one day I would stop feeling like a guest in my own home. I was wrong. The morning of my birthday started quietly. Megan kissed my cheek before leaving for work. It felt automatic, almost rehearsed. Chloe came downstairs a few minutes later carrying a small black gift bag tied with a silver ribbon.
"Happy birthday," she said. Her smile surprised me. Not because it was warm, but because I hadn't seen it directed at me in a very long time. Inside the bag was a brand new pair of expensive wireless earbuds. 3 days later, everything changed. But before I tell you what the police found, I need to explain why I did not look surprised. Because a man does not become an outsider in one cruel moment. It happens slowly, quietly, one dinner at a time, one ignored birthday at a time, one family photo where you are asked to hold the camera instead of stand in the frame. That was my life with Megan and Chloe. When I married Megan, Chloe was 14, old enough to hate me before I ever had the chance to be kind. I understood that. I did. Her father, Eric, had left behind more damage than memories. But somehow, in Chloe's mind, he remained sacred. He missed graduations. I attended them. He forgot birthdays. I paid for them. He promised trips he never booked. I drove her across 3 states for college visits, bought the hotel rooms, filled the gas tank, carried her bags. Still, he was Dad. I was Daniel. Just Daniel. At first, I told myself time would soften her. I believed patience was a kind of investment, and if I deposited enough loyalty, enough quiet sacrifice, eventually respect would come back with interest. It never did. Megan saw it. That was the part that poisoned me most. She saw the way Chloe spoke over me at dinner, the way she rolled her eyes when I offered advice, the way she smiled sweetly when she needed money and vanished when I needed decency. And Megan always found a reason. She's still adjusting. She doesn't mean it. You know how girls are with their fathers. Her fathers. Plural only when bills were due. I paid for the new bathroom after Chloe complained the old one was embarrassing when friends came over. I paid for the deck Megan wanted because she said family dinners outside would bring us closer. I paid for Chloe's car repairs when she ran over a curb and blamed the rain. I paid for insurance, vacations, medical bills, phone plans, streaming accounts, groceries, Christmases, and emergencies that always seemed to become mine the moment money was involved. But I was not family. I was the wallet with a wedding ring. There were warnings before the birthday gift. Small ones. Ugly ones. The Thanksgiving when Chloe made a toast to Mom and my real dad for making me who I am. While sitting in a dining room I had renovated with my own hands. The Christmas when she gave Megan a gold bracelet, her father a framed photo, and me a pack of work socks from a discount bin. The night she brought her boyfriend over and introduced me as my mom's husband, then laughed when he asked if I was strict. "He thinks he is," she said. Megan heard it. She smiled like it was harmless. That smile taught Chloe everything. So when Chloe handed me those expensive earbuds on my 55th birthday, I should have questioned it. I should have wondered why kindness had appeared so suddenly after years of contempt. But loneliness makes fools of men, especially men like me. Men who build houses for other people and return each night to rooms where they are barely tolerated. I wanted to believe. God help me, I wanted to believe. After Frank whispered those words at the job site, I drove straight to the police station with both hands steady on the wheel. Not calm inside. No, inside. Something old and heavy had beg asterisk end to crack. But I had spent my life swallowing pain quietly. I knew how to keep my face still. The officer at the desk looked bored until I explained what had happened. Then he stopped being bored. They took the earbuds. They took my statement. They asked where I got them, who gave them to me, whether anyone else had handled them, whether I had opened the hidden compartment myself. I answered everything. Chloe gave them to me. My coworker found the compartment. I brought them here immediately. No, I did not remove what was inside. No, I did not know what it was. They asked me to wait. So I waited in a plastic chair beneath fluorescent lights, smelling old coffee and floor cleaner, thinking about my wife's face that morning. Megan had watched Chloe give me the bag. She had smiled. Had she known? That question entered me like a nail. Pushed it away. Then it came back. Had Megan known? By the time an investigator came out, his expression had changed. It was no longer routine. It was careful, professional, the kind of face men wear when they are trying not to reveal too much too soon. "Mr. Harlan," he said, "we're going to need to ask your stepdaughter some questions." I nodded. I did not ask what they found. He told me anyway. Not everything. Just enough. There had been something hidden inside the case that did not belong there. Something illegal. Something serious enough that my birthday gift had become evidence. Evidence. That word echoed in my skull all the way home. When I walked into the house that evening, Megan was in the kitchen pouring wine. Chloe sat at the island scrolling through her phone, one leg crossed over the other, looking comfortable in a home built on my paychecks. "Where are your new earbuds?" Chloe asked. Too quickly. I noticed that. A man notices things when betrayal finally gives him permission. "At work," I said. Her thumb froze for half a second. Megan looked at me. "You okay? You seem pale." "I'm fine." I was not fine. I was standing in my kitchen with two women who had spent years teaching me I was useful but unwanted, wondering which one of them had decided I was disposable too. That night I did not sleep. I lay beside Megan while she breathed softly into the dark, and I stared at the ceiling fan turning above us like a slow blade. Around 2 in the morning, I got up. I went into my office. I opened the filing cabinet. And for the first time in years, I stopped thinking like a husband. I started thinking like a man preparing for impact. I started with the receipts. Not because I cared about the money first, but because paper does not lie when people do. Receipts remember what mouths deny. I opened the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet and pulled out folder after folder, each one labeled in my handwriting. Kitchen remodel, roof replacement, Chloe tuition support, Chloe car repairs, family vacations, medical bills, insurance, emergency transfers. My life was stacked in manila folders. My devotion had itemized dates. I sat there beneath the yellow desk lamp, listening to the house sleep around me, and every document felt heavier than it should have. A canceled check for Chloe's first semester housing deposit. A statement showing the credit card charge for Megan's dental surgery. A wire transfer I had made when Chloe called crying because her checking account was overdrawn after a weekend trip she had insisted was for networking. Networking. That was what she called cocktails, hotel rooms, and photographs taken on beaches I had never been invited to stand on. I found the invoice for the bathroom renovation too. The one Chloe had begged for when she said the old tile made the house look poor. She had laughed when she said it, standing barefoot in the hallway while I measured walls after working 10 hours under summer heat. "You're good at this stuff, Daniel," she told me. "At least Mom married someone useful." Megan had heard her. Megan had laughed softly, not cruelly. Worse, comfortably. That was the sound I remembered as I placed the invoice on the growing stack. Comfortable disrespect. By dawn, my office floor looked like the wreckage of a trial nobody knew had *N. I had piles for the attorney, piles for the accountant, piles for myself because sometimes a man needs evidence just to believe his own pain was real. At 6:30, Megan knocked once and opened the door before I answered. She stood there in her robe, hair loose, face still soft from sleep. For a moment, I saw the woman I had married. The woman who once rested her head against my chest and promised me we would build something honest. Then her eyes fell to the papers. "What are you doing?" Her voice was careful, too careful. "Organizing." "At 6 in the morning?" "I've been up." She stepped inside, looking at the folders, the statements, the receipts. Something moved across her face. Irritation first, then fear. "Daniel, what is all this?" "A record." "A record of what?" I looked up at her. "Everything I paid for." The room changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but I felt it. Megan folded her arms across her chest, the way she did when she wanted to look wounded before anyone had accused her of anything. Why would you need that? I almost smiled. There it was. Not concern. Not confusion about the police. Not worry about the gift her daughter had given me. Only fear of the ledger. I had a strange birthday, I said. Her lips tightened. What does that mean? It means Chloe gave me something I wasn't supposed to understand. Megan went still, just for a second. But I saw it. I had spent years watching walls crack, beams shift, foundations settle. A man in construction learns to see movement other people miss. Her silence moved. Daniel, she said slowly, you're starting to scare me. No, I think I'm starting to pay attention. She looked toward the hallway, as if Chloe might appear and save her from the conversation. But Chloe was still asleep upstairs under a roof I had paid to repair, in a room I had painted twice because she changed her mind about the color. Megan lowered her voice. Whatever you think is happening, don't make it worse. There it was again. Not what happened. Not are you safe. Not what did they find. Don't make it worse. As if the danger was not what had been hidden inside the gift. As if the danger was me refusing to stay useful and blind. I stood up, gathering the folders into a neat stack. What do you know? Her face hardened immediately. About what? About the earbuds. I know Chloe bought you a gift. Where? What? Where did she buy them? Megan blinked. I don't know. You don't know? No. Why would I? Because you were standing next to her when she gave them to me. That doesn't mean I helped her buy them. I didn't say helped. Her cheeks flushed. For the first time in years, Megan looked at me as if I was no longer furniture she could arrange around her needs. I was a door she had thought locked from the outside, and I had just turned the handle. She whispered, "You took them somewhere, didn't you?" I did not answer. That was answer enough. Her breath caught. Daniel, tell me you didn't. I stepped closer, not angry, not shouting, just tired in a way that felt ancient. I took them where Frank told me to take them. Her hand covered her mouth, and that was when I knew. Maybe she had not known everything. Maybe she had known enough. There are levels of betrayal. Person can stab you, or they can stand aside while someone else sharpens the knife. Both leave blood. Before either of us could speak again, Chloe appeared in the hallway wearing an oversized sweatshirt. Her hair pulled into a careless knot, irritation already written across her face. Why are you two whispering? Megan turned too quickly. No reason. Chloe looked at me, then at the folders, then back at me. Her expression changed in a way I will never forget. Not guilt exactly. Not fear exactly. Something between the two. The look of someone who had expected a trap to close around another man and had just heard metal snap near her own ankle. Where are the earbuds? She asked. I let the silence stretch. Police station. The color left her face so fast it was almost impressive. Megan closed her eyes. Chloe tried to laugh. Came out wrong. What? Why would you take them to the police? Because someone found the compartment. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. What compartment? It was a bad performance. Too loud, too fast, too offended. I had watched Chloe lie since she was 14. About grades, about parties, about money, about dents in cars and broken lamps and missing bottles from Megan's wine rack. She always lied with confidence first, then outrage second, then tears if the first two failed. This time, she skipped confidence. That scared her. I picked up the folder marked Chloe expenses and tapped it once against the desk to straighten the pages. The police want to speak with you. She looked at Megan. Not me. Megan looked away. That tiny motion did more damage than any confession could have. Chloe saw it too. Her face twisted. Mom, Megan whispered. Chloe, what did you do? And there it was. Not what is he talking about? Not, this is ridiculous. What did you do? The question fell into the room like a body. Chloe took one step back. I didn't do anything. Then answer their questions, I said. She snapped toward me. You don't get to talk to me like that. I almost laughed. but there was nothing funny left in me. No, Chloe. I paid like family. I fixed like family. I covered emergencies like family. But talking, authority, respect, that was always reserved for someone real. Her eyes burned. You're twisting everything. No, I'm finally untangling it. Megan started crying then, quietly, not the kind of crying that asks forgiveness, the kind that mourns consequences. I walked past them both with the folders under my arm. Where are you going? Megan asked. To my attorney. Chloe's voice cracked behind me. You can't just blow up this family over a misunderstanding. I stopped at the front door. For years, I had waited for them to call us a family without needing something from me. Now Chloe finally said the word. Family. Because evidence had entered the room. Because money was about to leave it. I turned back and looked at them standing together in the hallway. My wife and her daughter, bound by blood, panic, and years of shared silence. 3 days ago, I said, you gave me a birthday gift. Today I'm giving myself one. Neither of them spoke. I opened the door. My freedom. My attorney's office occupied the 3rd floor of a brick building that had stood downtown longer than I had been alive. The elevator groaned on the way up, the fluorescent lights flickering as though they, too, were exhausted by the weight of people's problems. I carried 2 banker boxes filled with folders, receipts, contracts, and statements. Years of my life had been reduced to paper. Strange how sacrifice eventually becomes documentation. Richard had represented me twice before. Once when a subcontractor tried to sue my construction company after ignoring safety procedures. Once when my late father's estate had to be settled. He wasn't a dramatic man. He didn't waste words trying to impress clients. He simply listened until the facts arranged themselves into something useful. When I placed the boxes on the conference table, he raised an eyebrow. That's a lot of paperwork. It's 18 years. He nodded without asking what I meant. For nearly an hour I talked while he made notes. I told him about Megan, about Chloe, about the birthday gift, about Frank discovering the hidden compartment, about the police. I explained every financial account that carried both my name and Megan's, every automatic transfer, every insurance policy, every investment I had quietly funded while believing I was building a future with people who loved me. Richard interrupted only once. Did the police tell you exactly what they found? No. They only confirmed it was illegal? Yes. He leaned back. Then don't speculate. Let the investigation speak for itself. That sentence stayed with me. Let the investigation speak. I had spent years speaking for everyone else, explaining Chloe's behavior, defending Megan's silence, making excuses for disrespect that should never have required explanation. Not anymore. Richard slid a legal pad toward me. I want a complete inventory. Of what? Everything. He looked directly at me. Every payment you made personally, every improvement to the house, every shared account, every retirement contribution, every emergency transfer, every loan you never called a loan. I almost laughed. So, my marriage. His expression didn't change. No. He tapped the folder nearest him. Your evidence. The difference between those 2 words hit me harder than I expected. Marriage had been built on promises. Evidence was built on proof. I spent the rest of the afternoon reconstructing 18 years, one payment at a time. A new furnace, $32,000. Kitchen renovation, $46,000. Chloe's first vehicle after she totaled her old one, $21,000. Private health insurance after Megan left her job. Vacation to Hawaii for Chloe's college graduation. Roof replacement after the hailstorm. Credit card balances I quietly erased because Megan said Chloe was still learning financial responsibility. The numbers climbed higher, much higher. By the time Richard totaled only the expenses clearly documented in my personal accounts, he removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. You carried this family. I thought that's what husbands did. They do. He paused. They're not supposed to carry it alone. When I left his office, My phone contained 11 missed calls. 7 from Megan. 4 from Chloe. Neither had left a voicemail. Interesting. When people wanted money, they always had plenty to say. When they wanted accountability, silence suddenly became attractive. I drove home just before sunset. The house looked exactly the same. Fresh paint, clean windows, flower beds I had planted every spring. From the outside, nothing had changed. Appearances are SK*lead liars. Inside, Megan was waiting in the living room. She stood the moment I walked through the door. "Where have you been?" "Working." "You know that's not what I meant." I set my briefcase beside the stairs. "No, I don't." She stared at me. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but tears no longer moved me the way they once had. Tears are honest only when they arrive before consequences. After consequences, they often become negotiations. "Chloe's terrified." I nodded. "I imagine she is." "You still won't tell me what the police said." "They'll tell you themselves if they need to." Her shoulders sagged. "Daniel, please." There was that word again. Please. It had been absent for years. Respect always returns disguised as desperation. "I need to know what's happening." I looked around the living room, the hardwood floor I had installed, the stone fireplace I had built over 3 weekends, the leather furniture I financed after Megan said the old couch embarrassed her when guests visited. Every corner reminded me of labor. None reminded me of love. "What's happening," I said quietly, "is that I'm finally seeing my own house." Confusion crossed her face. "It looks the same." "No." I shook my head. "It just belongs to different people than I thought." She took a step closer. "You're talking like you're leaving." "I didn't say that." "But you're thinking it." I didn't answer. Sometimes silence tells the truth faster than words. Before Megan could speak again, the front door opened. Chloe walked inside. She looked nothing like the confident young woman who had handed me birthday earbuds 4 days earlier. Her hair was tied back carelessly. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. She clutched her purse with both hands. She stopped the moment she saw me. "They called me." I waited. "The detectives." Still I said nothing. They want another interview tomorrow morning." Megan's head snapped toward her. "Another?" Chloe froze. She hadn't meant to reveal that. My heartbeat slowed. Not faster. Slower. Because innocent people rarely need another interview. "They've already spoken to you?" Megan whispered. Chloe swallowed. It wasn't a big deal. You told me they hadn't contacted you. I didn't want you to worry." The room became very quiet. Not because of the lie. Because of how easily it had been spoken. I watched Megan realize, piece by piece, that her daughter had *N hiding things long before the birthday gift ever entered our house. "Chloe, I can explain." "Then explain." She looked at me instead. Not her mother. Me. As though I were somehow responsible for the truth catching up to her. "You told them my name." "They already had it." "You gave them mine." "I gave them yours because you gave me the gift." She opened her mouth, closed it again. Then came the sentence I had expected all along. I didn't know what was inside. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she wasn't. At that moment it no longer mattered. Because something far larger than the earbuds had already been exposed. Trust. And once trust becomes evidence, no jury in the world can restore it. The newest model. I knew they weren't cheap. For a second, I simply stared at them. "They're beautiful," I said. "You deserve something nice." Those words hit harder than the gift itself. For years I had paid for almost everything in that house. The kitchen renovation, the new roof, Chloe's first car insurance, her college laptop, vacations to Florida, emergency dental surgery, hospital deductibles. When something broke, I fixed it. When someone needed money, I found it. Yet somehow I was always introduced as Megan's husband instead of Chloe's stepfather. Whenever distant relatives gathered, someone inevitably reminded me, "Well, you're not really family." Sometimes it came as a joke. Sometimes it didn't. Either way, everyone laughed except me. So hearing Chloe tell me I deserved something nice, it felt like the beginning of something I'd been waiting almost 2 decades to hear. I thanked her twice, maybe 3 times. At work that afternoon, I couldn't hide my pride. I'd spent 31 years at the same construction company. Concrete dust lived permanently under my fingernails. My shoulders ached before sunrise every morning. Most of the guys there had watched my hair turn gray. During lunch break, I pulled the earbuds from my pocket. "My stepdaughter bought these," I said. A few of the guys whistled. "Looks like somebody finally appreciates the old man." I laughed. Maybe they were right. Maybe things were changing. Frank picked up the charging case. He'd worked electronics repair before joining construction years ago, and he had the habit of inspecting everything with careful hands. He turned the case over once, then again. His smile disappeared. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he pressed something tiny hidden beneath the rubber lining inside the charging case. A nearly invisible compartment clicked open. Frank's face drained of color. He looked around to make sure nobody else was listening. Then he leaned close enough that only I could hear him. "You need to take this straight to the police." For a moment, I didn't react. I simply looked down at the object resting inside the compartment. My heartbeat slowed instead of racing. Years working construction had taught me something valuable. Panic never solved emergencies. Calm people survived them.
I quietly closed the charging case, slipped it back into my pocket, finished the last sip of my coffee. "Thanks," I told Frank. Then I stood up, grabbed my truck keys, and walked out without saying another word. 3 days later, everything changed.